Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the BIO259 Recap Podcast. This is episode 4, and we've got a lot to dive into today.
Yeah, and first off, can we talk about how wild this winter has been? I don't think I've ever had this many cancellations all at once. It's throwing everyone off.
Right? Managing the schedule has been a challenge, but honestly, kudos to everyone for rolling with the punches. You've all been incredibly flexible during the chaos.
Totally. And it's not like biology waits for the snow to melt, right? But seriously, thank you all for sticking with it. Oh, and can we just take a moment to shout out the Eagles? Super Bowl champions, baby.
Yes, a big win for Philly. Congrats to the team and the city. Okay, back to business. So for this episode, we're diving straight into fertilization, starting, of course, with the incredible journey that sperm undertake to reach the egg. All right, let's dive into today's main topic, fertilization. This is the start of it all. Dr. Rosario, can you walk us through what happens when sperm reach the fallopian tube?
Oh, absolutely. So fertilization usually happens in this specific part of the fallopian tube called the ampulla. Picture this. There are tens of millions of sperm, but only a tiny fraction actually make it that far. It's like running a marathon, except, get this, each sperm swims about 3,600 times its own body length just to meet the egg.
Wait, hold on. Did you say 3,600 times? That's insane. I mean, I struggle with my morning run, and these guys are just out here swimming across, miles in comparison to their size?
Exactly. It's wild when you think about it. Only one sperm makes it, and boom, a zygote forms.
Okay, so now we've got a zygote. What happens next? What's this whole cleavage thing we keep hearing about?
Cleavage. Such a cool phase. So once the zygote is formed, it starts dividing, but here's the thing. These divisions don't make it any bigger at first. The total volume stays the same, but the single cell gets cut into smaller and smaller cells. We call this cleavage.
Interesting. Why does it matter that it stays the same size? What's the point?
Great question. It's all about surface area. By breaking into smaller cells, the zygote increases its surface area relative to volume. And why does this matter? It helps with better nutrient exchange. Think of it like chopping up a block of ice. You get more surfaces to cool water faster.
Got it. Nutrient exchange sounds critical in these early stages. What's the next step after cleavage then?
Glad you asked. After a series of cleavages, the zygote forms this solid ball of cells. But then as it travels down the fallopian tube into the uterus, something magical happens. It becomes a blastocyst. Think hollow ball of cells at this point, right? And this is where implantation begins.
Implantation? That's the part where it sticks to the uterus, right?
Precisely. The blastocyst has an outer layer of cells called the trophoblast that sort of introduces itself to the uterine wall. It's fascinating. This layer not only attaches to the uterus, but also triggers an inflammatory response. This response makes blood vessels more permeable and creates a nutrient-rich environment for the blastocyst to burrow into.
That's incredible. So it's like setting up this VIP lounge for the blastocyst to thrive. How long does the whole process take?
About 9 days, give or take. By then, the blastocyst is completely embedded in the endometrium, the uterine lining, and ready to tap into the mother's resources. And this sets the stage for even more development with the germ layers and organs, but we'll save that for later.
So, from the blastocyst embedding itself into the uterine wall to creating the groundwork for life, it's truly fascinating. Speaking of vital foundations, Dr. Rosario, let's shift our focus to epithelial tissue. This seems like a cornerstone in understanding how our body's organized, right?
Oh, 100%. Epithelial tissue is like the ultimate multitasker. Broadly, we break it down as either simple or stratified. Simple means there's just one layer of cells, and stratified is this stack of multiple layers for extra strength and protection. And fun fact, the type of epithelial tissue you find depends entirely on what the body needs in that spot.
Okay, so give us an example. What might simple epithelial tissue be doing?
Great question. Simple squamous epithelium. Think of it like the minimalist of tissues. It's super thin, so it allows for quick diffusion of things like oxygen in your lungs or nutrients in blood vessels. You know those super thin linings? That's this tissue doing its thing.
I love how efficient that is. But what about the tougher, multi-layered stuff? Stratified, right?
Exactly. Stratified epithelia, like what you've got on your skin's surface, exists to handle wear and tear. Say you scrape your knee, those layers take the hit and protect the deeper tissues. It's like armor, but alive.
Got it. So lungs need simplicity for exchange. Skin needs that resilience. But what about more complex processes, like secretion or even trapping particles?
Oh, now we're talking pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Like in your respiratory system, it's sneaky, looks layered, but isn't. I mean, it even has goblet cells that produce mucus. That mucus traps particles, while little hair-like cilia sweep the mucus upward and away from your lungs.
That's pretty genius. It's almost like a built-in self-cleaning system.
Exactly. And I always tell students that touching your skin, like feeling that tough outer layer versus imagining the delicate exchange happening in your lungs, it really shows how adaptive epithelial tissue is depending on the job.
Truly impressive. Honestly, learning about this makes me even more amazed by the human body. All right, we could talk about this for hours, but alas, we've run out of time.
I know there's always so much more to share, but seriously, thank you to everyone who tuned in. I hope you all found this episode as fascinating as we did.
On that note, thanks for joining us on BIO259 Recap. Be sure to tune in next time as we continue unpacking the incredible details of human biology. Until then, take care, everyone.